everybody. It's Donna Partow, and I want to welcome you to today. We're going to be talking about putting people first, doing business God's way. And whether your business is in your neighborhood or you're in the business of advancing the kingdom of God, whatever you're doing, these principles are going to help you. We're talking about putting people first. And my guests today are the authors of this brand new book, which will probably get a lot of glare on it, but it's Building a Business by Building Relationships. And I would just say that these principles apply to whatever it is that you feel called by God to build. But the subtitle is How a Heart for the Marketplace Can Help You Grow Profits. And I want to tell you a little bit about Jim and Paula. Jim and Paula, wave and say hi.
Hello.
Hey.
A wave.
Make sure you're hearing me over. Make sure you're hearing me over there. Jim and Paula met in Bible college, so they thought, "Well, we love Jesus, so we're going to go into ministry." And God had another idea, and He called them into a different type of ministry. Usually, when we think of ministry, and I think it's a very modern thing, we think, "Hey, somebody give me a microphone so I can talk to Christians." Isn't that the funniest thing? At some point in church history, people are going to look back at that and think, that's weird. But right now, that's kind of the mindset that we have. Oh, I want to be in ministry. I feel like God is calling me. Give me a microphone. I got to find some Christians to talk to. And you kind of had that assumption. God directed you differently, and He called you into the marketplace. And that's where you've been as successful business owners for 40 years. And we'll talk about that. Married, 3 kids, all grown up, 6 grandkids. I'm jealous. Jim and Paul live in the Pacific Northwest. They love the great outdoors. We survived kayaking together in the San Juan Islands.
It was fun.
Wonderful.
It was such a wonderful experience. I first met Paula when she came to Lifestyle Freedom and just fell in love with her, of course. And another couple that was there decided that their lifestyle freedom would be leading adventures, especially for couples. And they held their first outdoor adventure, and Jim and Paula came. And so we went kayaking and glamping, and we saw orcas and sea lions and bald eagles. And it was just an incredible, incredible experience. I want to welcome you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a long time coming.
Yes, it has been a long time coming, but I love your book. It's a quick, light, easy read, but it really captures your heart. When you camp with someone, when they're in the tent next door, you get to know them really well. And I think this really captures your heart, Paula, and both of you, that it really is all about building, and it's about relationships. So why don't you talk first of all about, when God called you to the marketplace and, that mindset of, well, am I going to be like a second class, Christian? Am I less important because God's calling me into the marketplace? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, my dad was a preacher, and so everybody, including myself, thought that was my calling. And so at Bible college, I got ready to graduate, and I told Dad, I just don't feel good about it. I love the church, I love God, but I don't know it. And he did not put any pressure on me. He said, we need people in the marketplace that spread the gospel and do good and help. And that was a godsend to have a father like that. And got a brother that's a pastor, but not me. And Paula, we had so many changing plans when we were first married. We were going to be missionaries to Israel. We were going to do this. We were going to do that.
Yeah.
We ended up opening restaurants.
Yeah. But at the same time, we've been in ministry our entire lives together. We've built a lot of nonprofit organizations within the church and outside of the church too. So for me, they did put a microphone in both of us when we were probably 13. Jim grew up in Washington, me in Iowa, and we sang. That we did a lot of singing. Those youth pastors that got us in front of congregations, and we both sang in high school in choirs. So we already had that place. But for me, I really struggle because when I jump in with everything. And so it really helped at first with the business. I was bringing in income for the first couple of years, even though the stores became profitable within 3 months, and taking care of the family, but also in ministry. So it wasn't till later on that I realized, in fact, that's one of the reasons I went to Lifestyle Freedom was, God, which is it? Is it ministry? Is it business? And at Lifestyle Freedom, God made it really clear, it's both, and it's okay. And then I was able to really have peace with that and jump in.
Wow, that's really beautiful. By the way, I have a great idea for your pizza parlor. We had one of these in Arizona. You could sing at the pizza parlor, and that would be like a bonus. You suddenly reveal that hidden talent that you've got going there. But I really feel that God is using you to speak as part of a group that's speaking to the Christians in the marketplace and really validating that what they're doing matters to God. And it's interesting. I'm at a big, huge mega church, huge, like 10,000 people just at one campus. And we have a pastor who is the marketplace pastor. And he's the person who reaches out to me. I just went through something recently, had a little health challenge. And he was the one checking in. Hey, how you doing? You feeling better? How can I pray for you? How's your business partner? Caring about, my Lifestyle Freedom business partner, Tamara Aragon, who's usually here with us. And I just really think it's an acknowledgement of a shift that's happening. And I think that you're one of the voices that God is raising up to say, hey, more people are in your restaurant that are sitting in a pew in a given week. Most people spend more time sitting in restaurants than they do sitting in a church pew. More people spend time at the job. How about like your employees? You spend far more time with them than they spend at church or with their families, right?
Absolutely. In fact, over the years, our employees were first place for us with the very first store. And I watched a lot of these young men come on board to work for us because they saw something in Jim.
Wow.
And literally, when you think of being light in darkness and you think of being salt, it was so obvious, and the need was so great for somebody. They were looking for somebody to lead them. They didn't even know what they were looking for. And Jim took them to a men's camp, and several of them heard a speaker that was just so dynamic, and they registered with him. And oh my goodness, that one young man, Matt McCullen, he is head of a national ministry right now. And he found Christ, ended up, worked for us for 15 years, then became a pastor. But it was obvious at first. It was my issue, having a hard time seeing that there was more that we could do.
I blame the church for that because, coming back to where we started, if you love God, I know you love God's word, you love God, you love the church, and you're like, oh, wait, is what I'm doing for you, God, here in my business, is this enough? Or is there some spiritual thing that I should be doing? But if we look at Jesus, what did he do? He ate with people. He went to where they were. And that's what you're doing. And we just wanted today, we really want to validate. I think that's a big thing that we want to do, because you needed that. We want to validate anyone who's listening and you feel a call to the marketplace, that God is really doing something and he's affirming. And even right now, I feel like God is affirming you. If you're tuning in today, God just wants you to know what you're doing is incredible and really valued in heavenly places. I guess we covered the impact, and I wanted to come back to what you were saying about Jim, of young men needing a father. This is a fatherless generation.
Yeah. Our young people today, there's such an opportunity because of they don't have people to look up to. just, set the spirituality part aside for a second. Just think, how can you help people become better workers? How can you help them be responsible? How can you give them life skills? How can you teach them hygiene? I mean, I remember we were having trouble with just hygiene, and visited somebody's house, and it's like, oh my goodness, we don't know where people are coming from. And so you have to start with basics. And I always felt if the this might sound a little bit backwards, but if our only intent is to convert people, that's not really loving them. We need to help them become who they are. And then if they're interested in the next step, that we take them there. But there are so many young people that are just crying for help.
And they're going to respond more to a businessman. They're going to respond more to an authority figure, someone who's respected in the community. And I know I'm getting way ahead, but you sponsor sporting events and things like that. And you're out in the community, you're visible. And a lot of young people who would never walk into a church or would like, Pat Preacher, I've seen them on TV, forget it. They're going to connect and they're going to resonate and just have more instant respect for a business leader in the community. Paul, I'm sorry, you wanted to say something?
It's okay. How are they supposed to experience God's love? And that's what that proximity and being an employer with employees does. I'll never forget our son, who's a business partner with us and had one of his stores. He had not just one, but several employees say to him, I feel safer here at work than I do at school or at home. That just spoke volumes to us at what opportunity we had, and were we really seeing it for what it is? And so taking advantage of those conversations and looking at how can we make them feel safe in our presence. And that's why I'm so passionate about our handbook, because that's how we've made it practical.
Yeah, and with that, I should probably mention we're here today. I'm your host, Donna Partow, and we're here with Jim and Paula Newman, and they're sharing their brand new book. And I love this part where I get to tell everybody, nothing is for sale today. You can relax. Usually when you go into these Zooms, it's either somebody wants to make you do some work or they want to try to sell you something. So we've got good news. We don't want anything from you. We're here today, as always, just to be a blessing. And we're giving stuff away. That's what we're doing. And their book, they're making it available free all this week on Amazon Kindle. It's Building a Business by Building Relationships, How a Heart for the Marketplace can help you grow profits. And you can go to donnapartow.com/business, donnapartow.com/business. And Rennie Ling is helping here as well. Great friend of ours, went kayaking with us too. I've dragged poor Rennie all over the world with me, and she's lived to tell about it. But you can go to donnapartow.com/business. Also, Jim and Paula have a website, and that's where you can really get more information. jimandpaula.biz, B-I-Z, jimandpaula.biz, B-I-Z, and that has information about the book. But it also has information about their Facebook group that they've started. That's free. You can be part of that. Shares a little bit about their ministry. And that's also where we'll have the replay permanently stored so you can watch this again and glean lots of good stuff. So, Paula, putting people first really begins with who you are and how you show up everywhere, right?
Absolutely. So it's been very convicting to me, especially 1 Corinthians 13. If we have not love, then we have nothing. It doesn't matter what we do if it's not God's love in us that comes first. And so just being really intentional about that, and because it's so important that we are secure in God's love first. And because we can't give it if it's not there in us. And his love is so amazing that it's, if it can be seen clearly, it's pretty, what's the word I want? I don't think it's contagious, and people wouldn't turn it away if they could really see it. So that's the challenge of every single day,
Yeah, it's going to be who you are. And you share a lot about that in the book, just some of the things that you do, even before walking into your restaurant or your office, or walking into your school, wherever you're going, and taking a minute and being really intentional about what atmosphere am I carrying in. I don't remember what section in the book, but that really struck me, because I can be very choleric, and I'm like, I've got to get something done, and I'm walking in, like even to the grocery store, it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it convicted me just to take a minute before you walk into anywhere and check what am I carrying in here? Am I wearing Jesus well, or am I like a crazy person coming in? What did you do? And you have a little strategy. Why don't you talk about that? Because we want to give people some really practical stuff.
Yep. And Jim and I, it's really important for people to know that we have not always done it right. We've been those people that we go in with our list and we know what needs to change, and we want to get to the bottom of something. It is really, really hard, but that will not pay off any benefits to the business, to the people, to no one. So once I figured that out, and yeah, that's when it's like, it starts at home. It starts in the morning with the routine. And I go into that book because the book is all about relationships. Every single solitary chapter is about relationship. And, but yeah, to really pause before I go in with what is my top priority. And so if it's people first, then I need to go in ready for whatever I may face. But the truth is, and I don't want to forget this, I've got a lot of joy. That it's part of my name. K means joy. And so I have a lot of fun. Fun is very, people want to be around somebody that's fun. And so even to go in to our businesses or to a meeting with a light heart, not a heavy heart, because I do have a lot to be grateful for. And we have a tremendous lot to be grateful for and blessed. So yeah, that pausing to first plan. I have to have a plan, and mission statements really help with that. So, and I even do that when I'm going into a situation with family, like our parents had a 50th wedding anniversary, and it was like, okay, there can be some tension between siblings or others. So I had a mission statement. It was to honor my parents and glorify God. And I held on to that like, I want to say like a rock, a heavy rock in my hand, because that's what I remembered in that moment when I was tempted to do something else. So that was the plan. When I feel the anxiety come up, I pause and I remember that plan. And not until I get in that place, then do I proceed. So whatever it takes to get there.
I love that. Jim, did you want to add something? Go ahead.
With me, it's a little different. I can be task oriented. So I walk in and I have things to do. And it really got highlighted. We went to United Arab Emirates to help open up a store for some people. And so we walked in with the handbooks and I said, hello, Mr. Ollie, here's what we're going to do. Here's the stuff. Here's this, here's that. And he said, whoa, 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 whoa. We don't do business like that here.
Wow.
How's your family? You need some Turkish coffee. And so
Wow.
we spent about a half hour, which wasn't wasted time. It feels like it in the moment. It wasn't a wasted time, but it connected us for the relationship that we're going to have for that next month. And when I came back home, I said, I do that all the time. I walk in with a mission. I got a big list. I walk in, and it's really easy to look past people, but that will cost you, because you think you're getting a lot done, but you're not getting any help when you don't connect with people.
That's such a huge point. And I already admitted I'm definitely choleric. And if you don't have people on board, you end up doing it yourself or chasing them around, or they've dug in their heels, they're not cooperating. Whereas ironically, and we are so far ahead on where we want to go on this conversation, but ironically, by putting people first, and like Jim was saying, taking a minute, make that personal connection, waste time. Waste time, definitely waste time by all means. Connecting, showing interest, putting them first, then they're going to be on the back end, you're going to reap that harvest
Mhm.
because they're going to be on, team Jim and Paula for the win. Whereas otherwise people can resist and make it much, much harder for you. So how, I think we answered it, but I want to hear some more thoughts on this. How does putting people first enable you to grow a supportive team? Whether that's we can even talk getting support in your family, getting support in your neighborhood for something, getting support in the workplace. How does that putting people first approach help build that cohesion?
Yeah, you said the word connection, and it really is connection. In fact, I've talked to several teachers that know that I've written the book, and they are connecting with their students right away, in that they eye-to-eye contact with every single one, and they address the other person with their name. And so they're seeing the value that it is with students, and the student connecting with the teacher for the first time. And loved all those first day of school pictures I saw today. And so when you connect with a person, then, I mean, we do business, and we also do life with people that we like, that we know, and then we trust them. And so you've got to make that connection first. You've got to start that process of relationship.
Yeah, it's easy to think that we're going to save time, like Jim was saying, walking into let's get right down to business. That's going to save us time, and in the long run, it's not. The other thing that I think that some people fear is, if I put other people first, does that make me last? Do I end up losing? Like, how can I look at putting people first as maybe an investment in my future?
Well, every seed you plant in the natural, bean seed doesn't sprout, but we keep planting. And every good deed we do is not going to reap a reward. I mean, sometimes you will be taken advantage of. But Theodore Roosevelt and John Maxwell, several others had the same quote: people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So at least put you on an even playing field, that if I care for you and you're my employee, you're going to try to do what I request. Or if what I'm requested is not good, you're going to tell me, hey, this is not good for the business. I mean, it doesn't just mean that they become robots.
That's really
But
good.
putting people first gets them on the same team. And I think a lot in the restaurant business, we've always seen the chef that yells at people. I mean, that's what people think the restaurant business is. And a lot of places it is. It's just some boss yelling at people for not doing a good job. And let me tell you, what kind of team members do you think they make? How do they take care of things when you're not there? They don't. And so the putting people first, yes, you can be taken advantage of, but the reward is so much greater than whatever somebody might take advantage of.
Most generally, people really like going into a business where somebody knows them and knows their name. And it is so, when I get to know the owner of a business, I am looking forward to going there for business the next time, because I know a name and I have made a connection with that person. So it actually, even though it isn't the intention, it actually increases the number of times that people come into your business when you have a relationship with them. And for us, because we are Christians, it is out of our love for them. That's why we put people first. I mean, Jesus put people first. He's the most selfless person there is. And that's why we trust him.
And now he's King of Kings and Lord of Lords, so it worked out pretty well for him in the end.
Yeah.
I think so too. When we put people first, we honor God, and the Bible says, "Those who honor me, I will honor." We are we, as Jim was saying, we might not get an immediate payoff. There may be a couple people who take advantage, but for the most part, our recompense comes from God. Our income comes from God. Everything that we have as Christians, we know it comes from God. So of course, we never want to be foolish. I've sown a lot of seeds in bad soil, which I recently found out you don't get a harvest from. Who knew? But if we're being faithful and we're planting seeds in the harvest in the field that we feel God has called us to, then we trust him for the increase. It may not be that person who turns around and blesses us. It may come from another direction. I want to pick up on something you said because it reminded me of a story in my own life. I was living in Arizona and my mom and dad came out to see me, which was like a big deal. They weren't world travelers. So for them to leave New Jersey, yeah, it was like a big thing. And, I wanted to take them out to dinner. I guarantee you can already guess which restaurant in Phoenix I took them to. It was the one where I knew the owner knew my name. Yeah. And that is a fact. I took them there. We walked in and his name was Rex. And he said, Donna, so glad you came tonight. This is my mom and dad. And they're like, oh, the restaurant owner knows you. I mean, my daughter, I want to make my mom and dad proud. That's silly, maybe, but that is an actual true story. I thought it was the greatest thing that I was going to walk into that restaurant and I knew Rex would make a big deal and say, hey, Donna, how you been? And he was a Christian. And actually he ended up, he always closed on Sundays. And then a church started there. He said the church could use his restaurant on Sundays. And that is now a mega church.
Wow.
It grew, not his restaurant, but it grew from the restaurant and now it's now a mega church just a stone's throw from the restaurant. I mean, by now he's retired, I'm sure, but you can guarantee that all the people patronized that church from Monday to Saturday. But it's just a small example that everybody wants to feel, and I know you talk about this, so let's jump into that question. Everybody wants to feel, I hate to quote the Bar song, but sometimes you want to go where everybody knows. I mean, it's just true. Everybody knows your name. I want to give one more example from my own life. Then I'm going to jump over to you. I was talking to one of the neighbors, a young man in the military. Why? I was so determined to marry him to either one of my daughters. I didn't care. It didn't happen. But his name is Matt, and he handsome, charming, wonder. Everybody loved Matt. And we're talking one day, and I was like, "Oh, that couple. What?" He picked up his phone, opened up to his notes. He's like, oh yeah, that's Jim and Julie. Jim's ... and Julie's ... Yeah, everyone. I'm like, what? He showed me. He said, yeah, when I moved into the neighborhood, everybody that I've met, I just, write on my phone. I wrote their name and a little bit about them so I could remember. I'm like, I'm 60. You're 25 and you know more about like basic life skills. I mean, why I don't know this, but people don't do it. They don't know it. Help us, Paula. Talk to us. Make us more like Jim, Paula, and Matt. Please, por favor.
Yeah. Okay. So how to win friends and influence people. That is, we were in Amway when we were newlyweds. I don't even know what the company is called now, but plus I was working as a grocery checker then. And I have this now strength called WOO. It stands for winning others over. I love to win a friend. I love to win somebody over. And so being intentional about learning names. The book talks about how hearing your name spoken by somebody is the most endearing and wonderful thing in the world. I remember our grandson when I would say, Luke Asher Newman, I just love you. And he said, I love it when you say my name. And it's true of all of us in all of our life. And so it is, I'm so proud of that young man because he did exactly what we all need to do. First, we have to purpose that it's important to learn names. And we have to stop saying, I don't do very good with names.
I can't remember names.
Yeah, we told our brain it's not important. So if we tell our brain it's important, find a way to learn this. So I work very hard at it. And when I have employees that have names that are really hard to say and they want to make some pet name, I go, no, 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 no. Your mama gave you that name and it has a meaning, and we'll call you that if you want, but I'm going to really try to learn your name the way it was given to
Wow.
you. And so because of that, I mean, when I was a grocery checker, people would line up in my line because I would remember their name. And the bosses would try to get people to go down the lines. And that happened to me over and over again. And anyway,
Yeah,
it
if
is,
you worked at Starbucks, people would drive by and see your car there and they decided to get coffee that day. So, you know, when we say, you know, I know what people, I think I know what people are saying. I can't learn names. And I'm thinking, have you been in a situation where you met somebody for the second or third time and they couldn't remember your name? How did it make you feel? I mean, this is something churches could use too, that names are so important. And the first time you met your spouse, I bet you remembered their name. So a lot of time it's just, we don't think it's important. And they know they're not important when we don't learn names. And so, you know,
It's
do
just
I
not
forget
true. I
names?
love the way you were blunt. That's good. Even
Yeah.
though you're not from New Jersey, you just called us all out. If it was important to you, you would do it. But since you didn't do it, clearly you're not putting people first.
What was your name?
You guys have been trying to forget me. The lady in the tent next door driving you crazy. Oh, it's so
I
much.
have this, I got a couple of employees that I've called the wrong name. And so after I do it the second time, I say, okay, next time I call you the wrong name, you get a free meal, or you get 20 bucks or whatever. You know, I don't think I've ever had the 20 bucks is important to me. So now your name is important.
I know, amen. I like that. That's good. We can play that game with ourselves. But yeah, it is. It's a simple way to honor others and show that we really are putting people first. Do you have any practical tips, Paula, for remembering names?
so writing them down right after you've had a conversation with them when you get in a place, because how do we memorize? On the phone is
Always
really
right there in your
easy.
hand.
Yep. Repeat the name in their presence, say it, and you can even admit, I really want to remember your name. And if I can't understand it, their name, sometimes I'll say, can you spell it for me? So I make sure I get it right. So we memorize by repeating something, by writing it down and rehearsing it. So I'll find a place to write it down. And then even that night, I'll think, all right, what was that person I met today? I want to remember. And maybe I'll say, think of something I really appreciated about them.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yeah.
Or remember, and it was just so stunning to me that he would do something so obvious and simple. No one goes anywhere without this thing.
Right.
No one. And just such a simple little hack.
Mhm.
Just when you ask the name, just right then pick up your phone and say, oh, I want to remember your name. I just met my new neighbor, Jorge. So I just said a million times, Jorge, hey Jorge, what's up, Jorge? Like just keep saying it. Oh, so Jorge, yeah, where are you from, Jorge? And say it a bunch of times, because then it's out of your lips and maybe it's drilling into your head. But that idea of just jot it down in your phone and help people know that they matter, because people really don't feel like they matter, because that's the way they get treated in the world. And so how are we doing on time? Okay, so let's say someone has a business, or a lot of people have a little home business, or they have a ministry they're trying to build, a message they're trying to get out there, and they really want people to support them in it. So I don't know about anybody else, but left to my own devices, my first thought would be, well, if I want people to support me and, whatever I'm doing, this cause, this project, this business, what I need to do is go ask them to support me. Is that the best strategy?
Nope. And it's counterintuitive. It's counterintuitive for us to serve someone first.
Ouch.
And so, like when we opened this last business that we started, it was like, which comes first, the community or us, like what you're saying. And so we realized that what we really wanted was to serve the community. And I cannot tell you as a business owner, and I want to shout this to other business owners and people that are starting organizations and starting their businesses, serve someone, find out what their need is. Like, we really appreciated our meeting together socially before and after our kids' football games. And so in order to do that, we had to stay open late enough on a Friday night to serve them. When we see in our community that most everybody is closed on Sunday and Monday because it's a smaller rural community and people are struggling to find help, we are open on those days because we serve. So if you're starting a business, find a way that you can serve others, jump into what they're doing, get to know, start those relationships. It will come to you sooner than you think. It's so much more satisfying. Jim and I just read an article about the bonuses of serving and volunteering, what it does for you personally. It's a stress releaser. It builds your happiness level. There's just a whole bunch of things around it. So
it goes back to saying, if you want people to support you, maybe the way to start is going and supporting someone else. I've seen that even with these book launches. By the way, I'm Donna Partow, and I'm here with my special guests, Jim and Paula Newman. We survived camping together. We actually had a blast camping together. But they're here with their brand new book, Building a Business by Building Relationships, how a heart for the marketplace can help you grow profits. And it is free all this week. And you can go to donnapartow.com/business, donnapartow.com/business. And that will take you right to the page on Amazon. Look for the Kindle version. That's free all this week. They're just sowing seeds to reap a harvest. And they got a nice tree on the cover there. And you can also go to their website, which is jimandpaula.biz, jimandpaula.biz. That also has a link for where you can get the book. It has information about their Facebook group where they share inspirational quotes. And I don't know if you'll be doing more with the Facebook group, but a fun place for those called to the marketplace to gather. That's also where you'll see the replay of this interview and more about their wonderful, their bio and more about them. So check that out, jimandpaula.biz. Nothing for sale here today. We just want to be a blessing and share wonderful information with you. I want to talk a little bit. I know you talk about this in the book. I'm the queen of like great intentions. I just put up a post this week and it's a famous one. We've all heard it. We judge ourselves by our intentions and we judge others by their actions. How important is it to actually kind of follow through and put feet to work? I'm going to throw this one to Jim. You show me your faith by you believe there's a God. Demons believe that and tremble. Show me your faith by what you do. How do we as Christians get past like having this mental, like theology oriented, oh, I believe, which is great. I just had this discussion with someone. I believe. Okay. Maybe put some feet to the faith, get out there and do some of the stuff that's in the book. I don't know. Is that just me?
No, I think it's human nature to disconnect. And because we think we're doing it.
Oh.
The customer service, this relates to churches too, but if you ask, there's been many surveys you can find on Google where they ask business, how important is customer service? And it's up 97%. And then they say, how do you do a customer service? Businesses all say they're at 95. Then they go to the customers. How is your customer service? 20%. So it doesn't matter what we intended to do. We've had, one of our employees, they greeted somebody softly and the person didn't hear them. And so we said, hey, you need to greet them. I did. Did they hear you? No. Then you didn't. And this fits in with churches think they're friendly. They're not. You can go to a church for 5 years and not know anyone. And yeah, maybe you should get in a small group. Maybe you should do this. But, and churches know they're not friendly. That's why they have this stand up and greet somebody. And then we sit down and we walk away. So the intention impact, we know, well, faith without works is dead. I mean, you can, if you're not producing, I don't know if I'm answering the question or not.
No, I love it. I love you. So that's why
The intention impact,
I knew you'd
I
agree with
think I'm
me.
loving my wife. Does she think I'm loving her wife? Sometimes not. I think
Yeah.
I'm clear. To start a relationship's easy. To maintain a relationship is difficult. Whether you're talking about marriage, whether you're talking about customers, whether you're talking about church people, it takes work. And what happens is we start making assumptions in our mind that the other person has no clue about. And the more we communicate and dialogue, why don't we ask people, how am I doing at friendliness? How am I doing at this? We don't want to know. Rather think that we're doing good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so powerful. I love it. And I love that idea of like, maybe just ask if there's a relationship, whether it's a business relationship, a personal relationship, do they feel, oh, I love you? Well, how am I showing, or do you feel loved by me? Do you feel supported by me? Do you feel honored and valued by me? What does that look like? I ask that a lot. What does that look like? How am I showing up? One of the questions I ask all the time, especially to Rennie, is what am I not seeing here? What am I not seeing? And I think it's really great, as speaking now just about networking, those of us called to the marketplace, and how we can support each other and build those horizontal relationships with our peers, is having some people in your world that you can say something like that, like, what am I not seeing here? How am I, how are my grand intentions not translating into reality? Where are the disconnects? And that's why I know you're doing a little bit of that online, and maybe post-COVID, you can do some, I know we talked about doing some really intensive mentoring experiences with you guys, maybe in the great outdoors, because I know you love that and you're there in the great Northwest, but helping people really take a serious look at how they're approaching their business, and kind of drawing, connecting the dots and putting feet to their faith, and really being honest about how they're showing up and how people are perceiving them. I think it's really, really important and powerful. I think I just want to do one more thing. Again, Donna Partow here with my special guests, good friends, dear people, Jim and Paula Newman. They're here with their brand new book, Building a Business by Building Relationships, How a Heart for the Marketplace Can Help You Grow Profits. Nothing for sale. It's available as a gift all this week at donnapartow.com/business. I thought, Paula, you have, I don't think we did cover this. Your stress. Wow. I don't know why I can't say this word today. Stress management strategy. Why don't you tell us about that?
So are you talking about
Your plan,
proceed, or plan? Yeah, plan, pause, and proceed.
You
Yeah.
know your strategy, Paula. You just
Yeah.
are stressed right now. So now you need your
Yeah.
stress management strategy, because I threw that question at you.
Yeah, I talked about it a little bit before. So my plan is starts in my morning and my evening routine. That is where I get my head on straight and my heart at peace. And so peace is what is my guide throughout the day. And so, and that's, if I don't keep my routines, and I talk about that relationship with self in the book, is having that, just being at a place of peace. It's so important, because when we're at peace, then our brain can work the way it's supposed to work, and our heart can too. And so just being aware of when I'm not in peace, and pausing till I figure out, okay, why is that? And a lot of times in business, in all organizations, we can get offended. We can be judgmental. That is a very huge one. Instead of looking for the data, we go to picking up an offense and starting to judge. So that will pull the peace away. And So getting that straight in my head, and I love it when 1 Corinthians 13 says, love hopes all things. I remember asking Jim's sister, what does that mean? And she said, that means that love gives the benefit of the doubt, giving the benefit of the doubt throughout your day instead of making a judgment and then letting bitterness or unforgiveness. That's why it's so important, this plan, pause, and proceed. So then pause and then not proceeding until I'm at that place of peace when my heart is really putting people first. I want to tell a little story here. My mom worked for J.C. Penney, and we call it a golden rule, but it was really a verse of scripture. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And I could not believe that's probably one of the things, a reason why I realized that my calling was to the marketplace, was because my mom's boss, my mom's employer affected her life so deeply. And just that one verse, to remember that, simplifying things helps with this plan, pause, and proceed. And then when you proceed in a way that is putting people first.
That's nice. And just, I'm going to throw it over to Jim in a second to see if there's anything he wants to add here. But it comes back to what we talked about earlier. Most people are in the workplace 40 hours a week. I mean, that's more than anything else. You deduct sleep, they're in the workplace. And if you're in the marketplace with them, they're really the opportunity to impact their lives. And I think especially, as Jim was talking about earlier, young people, to mentor and raise up that next generation that really have their heads are so filled with nonsense. I can't even fathom it anymore. But Jim, is there anything else that you wanted to share about building a business by building relationships? We're coming to the end of our time together here.
It's hard work, but it's profitable emotionally and financially. And we like things easy. And we think when God blesses us, that all of a sudden money's going to show up in their account. But if you look at, let's just take Israel, and he said, I'll open the floodgates of heaven. Well, what does that mean? Their wheat is bumping up all over the place. So what do they have to do? They got to harvest it. They got to sweat. I mean, it didn't show up in their 401k. They had to work their little tails off to take care of the harvest that God had given them. And this is hard work, but it's fulfilling work. And when it's people and you can see changed lives and people moving forward, it's worth it. And I would say business and church is pretty similar. We think it's not, but most of us don't pick our churches for their theology, though theology is important. We pick a church where we feel we belong, where they know our name and face. And that is a very important thing that's missing in our society.
That's what young people are looking for. They're looking for, where do I belong? Who really cares about me? And if we can just look at it, look past the colors of hair, all the tattoos and all of that there is someone in there. They just want to be seen. They want to be known, and they want to be heard. Yeah, I'm being available.
What an opportunity we have. And of course, not everybody's called to the marketplace, but I wish the church spoke more often and had conversations like this, because a lot of us are out there in that big, scary world all week. And I think that's where Jesus would be. I mean, Jesus went to church too, right? He went to the synagogue, but that was not the full extent of his ministry. That was not his, that was part of his ministry, but a lot of his ministry was sitting around, having a meal, having conversations, doing life. I guess the phrase now is doing life. And I think too often in the church, we don't give enough validation, I guess is the word for today, validation to those of us who feel called to the marketplace. So this has been really valuable. Any final thoughts from either of you before I wrap?
All I want to say is be fun, have fun, play with people. It's not, I mean, that's one of the greatest things. Our other son who's working with us, on Thanksgiving Day, they play kickball, flag football, play with people. It doesn't have to be all work. It doesn't have to be all heavy conversations. Yeah.
Spoken like a true sanguine.
Yes.
Through this journey, I've definitely found out how sanguine Paula is, but we've had fun.
I've got some choleric, but yeah.
Yeah, we've had a great time. And we just fell in love with you when I met you at the Lifestyle Freedom event. And then we went kayaking together. And hopefully someday COVID will be over and we can go and have more adventures and do great things together again. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Donna Partow, my guests have been Jim and Paula Newman. They are the authors of Building a Business by Building Relationships, How a Heart for the Marketplace can help you grow profits. And it is available. You can check it out at donnapartow.com/business. And that'll take you right to the place on Amazon. The Kindle is completely free all week. You might also want to get the paperback. It's a really beautiful book, forward by Jim, Bible verses, lots of great stuff in here. I should have done this. Donna, what's wrong with you? Relationships with people, relationship health, relationship with your first customer, learning names, relationship with community, with professionals and purveyors, your relationship with God, with yourself, with your spouse, and with your family. So it covers every aspect of relationships. You can also check out their website, jimandpaula.biz, jimandpaula.biz. Thanks so much for joining us. And I love you guys. You're awesome.
Love you too, Donna.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
God bless.